Thank you so much for coming back to Real YouTube Mastermind, where we get to talk with amazing agents that are implementing video and YouTube into their businesses and have awesome conversations. Today, my guest is Jeb Smith out of LA. This dude is on fire, one of the greatest channels. If I could copy all of his videos, I would, but it doesn't make sense in my market. So Jeb, let's bring you on, man.
I appreciate you. Yeah, no, man. Thanks for having me here. I'm a big supporter, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I love your channel. We've talked back and forth for a while now. I think I've been on your channel before. We got you coming on Real Migos here in a bit. So I really appreciate you. Why don't you walk us through? So if nobody knows anything about you, what should they know about Jeb Smith right now?
Wow, that's a hell of a start there. Yeah. So I mean, I'm a real estate agent. I've been in the business nearly 20 years. Primarily, my business was always built around friends, family, past clients, right? It's how you're told you're supposed to get business. And fortunately for me, I've been able to build a successful business, on past clients, friends, and family. I'm a big Brian Buffini guy. I get coached by Buffini and Company, and that's always been my business model. Some things started to change right before the pandemic, where I started to implement more video, right? I had been doing video the whole time. But I was doing more evergreen topics, right? Just talking about, things that always come up in our business, right? What is a 1031 tax exchange? What are capital gains? I was constantly addressing things that, I thought people really wanted to know. And then the pandemic hit, right? And we had things like mortgage forbearance and all of these different topics come out. And I started to change the way that I approach YouTube and started really focusing more on not just current trends, but how they were affecting the housing market and how that all came into, basically real estate to some extent. And from there, my channel changed, dramatically, right? I as I mentioned, to start this, I started out with a business that was probably 95% referral based, past clients, friends, family, referrals from agents in other states. And this year, I was having this conversation yesterday. I don't know the specific numbers at the moment, but probably 30 to 35% of my business this year will come from some, YouTube related business, whether it's, me referring, clients to other agents out of state or people reaching into me directly in some form or fashion. And that's not even considering, the ad revenue and all that good stuff that comes from YouTube.
Yeah, the good old $20 a month from ad revenue from YouTube.
Dude, it's actually considerably more than that.
That's one thing. Like on my channel, I'll hit 10,000 this month, but you're at almost 40,000 subs. What does that look like? I mean, you don't have to tell me exactly, but what does that look like as far as just side money to help pay for videos?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really use it to pay for any videos, but I mean, anywhere from 3,500 to 6,500 a month is what it's been averaging over the last 12 months. So a fairly reasonable amount, considering, it's my side hustle, so to speak.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to have a side hustle that pays you $6,000 a month, $35 to $600, $6,000 a month, it's not a bad little side hustle. I mean, that's going to cover some mortgage payments. So
no, for sure.
What was your main reason for changing to YouTube? Was it just the pandemic or was there just a want to do it before that?
Well, I guess, to be completely honest, going into it, I didn't realize that YouTube actually paid a decent amount of money. I really had no idea, right? I was just doing video to stay relevant in the business, right? I mean, everybody out there, you have to do video. And so I was doing it just to be there and didn't realize, the potential there. And then when I started to realize the potential, it was like, okay, and this was at the beginning of the pandemic. Now it had started to pay me prior to that. So I was already making, some money from YouTube, getting some business here and there. But it wasn't really my focus. And then, the pandemic hit and we were basically kind of out of business for 45 days or so here in California. I mean, we couldn't show property. We couldn't really do anything. And I started to wonder, all my eggs are literally in one basket when it comes to my business model, right? It's if I don't sell real estate, I'm screwed to some extent, right? I mean, what's the next 6-8 months going to look like if this continues? And fortunately, savings and that sort of thing. But if you don't take that into account, it's like, what do you do? So, I've always wanted to have the potential to be able to make money while I sleep, and, that whole mailbox money thing. And honestly, it just kind of fell in my lap. And I'm fortunate that it did, because for me, it's very controllable. I'm very structured. I'm very disciplined. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And so for me, it's okay. Like, I can film a video at 12 at night. Nobody knows when I'm doing video, or
Yep.
if I do them all on one day, I could film 10 videos if I wanted. That to me is very, very controllable versus, some of the other aspects of the business.
So that brings me to a really good point. So, a lot of agents to get into video or whatever capacity, whether they're doing Instagram, whatever it is, YouTube, whatever, um, they start doing it and they don't see any business out of it, or they don't see any return out of it, and then they quit. You just said you're very structured. What does that structure actually look like for you, and as far as like what you need to do to keep your channel growing?
Gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, at the beginning of the year, like any other thing, right? I set a goal of what I'm going to do this year. And for me, at the beginning of the year, it was 3 videos a week, right? It was 3 a week, regardless of what came up. And so you do the math, it's roughly 100 videos a year. And I mean, at 150 a year, right? And I think I actually put 150 down, because I figured there was a week or two in there where I probably wouldn't do anything, just because of vacations and that sort of thing. So 150 was the number, but I started out the year going, you know what, I'm going to do 5 a week. I'm going to do, all of this. And then, so it's very much just saying, hey, look, I'm going to do it and do it. And for the longest time, I kind of shot by the wayside. I mean, I had no plan. I didn't know what I was going to talk about coming in that day. I just knew I was going to film a video. I read a lot. I follow a lot of different topics with regards to real estate. So I'm constantly thinking about things. But once I kind of developed a plan and said, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about for the next 2 weeks with regards to video. One day might be the housing market. One day might be, first time home buyers. The next time might be mortgages or interest rates or whatever. And then starting to set a plan, it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to have really detailed structure, right? Not just having the time and that I'm going to film a video. It's okay, what am I going to talk about 2 weeks before I talk about it? And that gives me an opportunity to kind of think about those things prior to it, because I don't make, I'm not reading a teleprompter. I don't have a bunch of notes. It's okay, these are my thoughts on the subject, and I go in and shoot it. And so, good or bad, it allows me to get it, on video. And then from there, sometimes I just scrap a video. I watch it and I'm like, you know what, it sucks. But one thing I will tell you is that when doing video, a lot of it's going to be redundant, and redundant
Yep.
in the sense that, especially in the environment that we're talking about now, we're constantly talking about the same things. And for me, that's the hardest part. It's not shooting the video. For me, it's coming off sounding like I'm repetitive, like I constantly saying the same thing over and over again. But we're both friends with someone that is successful in this business, and I've reached out to her a couple of times and had conversations. When I say business YouTube, and she kind of says, listen, in order to do this, you're going to be redundant. A lot of times you're going to repeat yourself, but what you have to understand is that the audience seeing your video this time might be new to you, right? 80% of the people watching your videos are going to be new to you each time. So, you've got to get over that idea that you're constantly talking about the same thing, because you are going to be, it's just going to be phrased in a different way.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, obviously we're talking about the same person, Christina
Yep.
Smallhorn.
Yep.
And I find the same, I run into the same problems. Like, I'm talking about this again in a video. Why am I talking about this again? But the reality is, like, I'll put out a video, it's very similar, and then same content. I'll have like 8,000 views by the next week. And then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I put out the same video, very different, talking about different topic, but talking about the same thing kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And that one gets, 8 to 10,000, views in the same amount of time frame. So it's tough, because you want to be fresh with everything, but at the same time, it's, yeah, Christina's right. I mean, Christina, I should have her on again. I've had her a long time ago. So as far as content goes, so you're getting a couple videos out per week. What is it that's important to you when you're doing your content? What do you want to convey in your content? Let me step back. That was a dumb question. So the good thing about editing
No,
is,
I think I think that's a good, I think what I'm trying to convey is that, like, I'm not, I try to come off as somebody not that knows everything, right? Because I don't believe that at all. It's that, hey, I'm boots on the ground. This is what I'm seeing in the market, right?
Right.
And this is what I'm seeing from, working with buyers, working with sellers. And then in addition, I'm saying, okay, this is the data that came out, and I'm trying to help people understand what that data means, read between the lines. Because if you as I, well, as well as I do, like if you read a headline, it's really easy to get lost in the headline, right? Pending home sales down. Okay, what the
Yeah.
hell does that mean? Does that mean the market's tanking, or does it mean that it's down from last month, or does it down from last year? I mean, what is it down from? And helping people understand what that means and using it in context of, hey, I'm out in the market right now and this is what I'm seeing. And now real estate's local, but I'm trying to come off as someone that, hey, look, this is what I do every day. I'm not here to tell you to buy a house. Is that me? Sorry. Not tell you to buy a house or sell a house. I just want to provide you with the information so that you can make logical, irrational, unemotional decisions, because real estate's extremely emotional, on
Yep.
all sides of it. And
you,
I
you used
often
to have
get
a video about that, I think,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And I often get people reaching out to me going, you're just trying to sell people houses. No, I mean, the majority of my audience is nationwide. Like there's
Yeah.
no benefit to me if you buy or sell a house in Oklahoma. Like, what the hell do I get from that? I'm just trying to be the voice of reason when you've
Yeah.
got a bunch of, people out there putting out information that isn't entirely accurate, and a lot of
Oh
times
God,
isn't
I
accurate
know
at
who you're
all.
talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. So
When you're doing content, obviously we all try to throw spaghetti at the wall at first, and a lot of
mhm.
agents will. What do you think it is? What would you recommend to an agent that's just starting out, that's putting out content? What do you think they should do to structure their content to help them grow their channel?
I think you have to touch on the pain points of people going through the housing market at the moment, right? So right now it's very difficult to be a buyer. In some ways it's difficult to be a seller, right? I mean, you're selling your property. What do you do? Where do you go? How do you approach it? And I think it's dealing with things that affect people emotionally, right? I mean, buying a home is emotional, right? People buy emotionally, they justify logically. So how can you walk somebody through the process, be real, and provide them with something that's actually helpful, right? I mean, that's people are on YouTube trying to get information because they want to learn. And so I think you've got to be the person that provides that information, and it's got to be less less about you, right? Less salesy. Like, I don't try to sell myself in these videos. I'm not asking you to do anything other than, give it a thumbs up or subscribe or whatever. I'm not putting my, phone number in there. I'm not really trying to do that. I'm just saying, hey, listen, provide you with useful information that hopefully, you know, makes sense and allows you to have a easier, less stressful transaction. And then hopefully, you're considering the process, you think of me, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And or you know someone buying a house and you're like, you know what, this guy looks like he knows what he's talking about, and get business that way. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I went from zero business from YouTube, and I don't know what the actual volume number is because I haven't added it up. I need to do it. But I mean, I've probably closed, I don't know, this year, close to $8-10 million from YouTube in GCI. And so it's working out well.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing you touched on in there is not being salesy. I think, which leads to my next question is, what do you think are the things that agents do wrong in video? And I think one of my pet peeves are when agents are too salesy, or they listen to one of these gurus on YouTube that tell them you always have to have a call to action. You always have to
Right.
call to action in video, and you got to ask for business. You got to do it here, and you got to do it here. I think your style and my style is a little bit different than that. I mean, my style is, I go do a hook. I go into Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor, and then I just move in, and I don't ever ask for business on my channel. What would you think would be some of the major key things that agents are doing wrong that they shouldn't do when they're creating content for YouTube specifically?
It's hard. I don't watch a lot of agent related content, but what I can tell you from talking to people that want to do video is the biggest problem I see is people trying to make it perfect, right? I mean, the holdup for most people to start video is that they feel like, they're not good at video, that they don't have something to provide value wise or whatever. If you're a real estate agent and you're out showing buyers and sellers property, you have the ability to, provide value, if you will, right? And so I think, getting over the fact that everything has to be perfect in the video is most people's problem. Um, because you can't get out there and provide that value without actually stepping up and doing it to start. So, it's hard to say because I don't watch, like I mentioned, I don't watch a lot of other agents' videos at this point because I don't know. I just,
Yeah,
I don't.
I, I was on a trip a couple of weeks ago with Katie Day, and Katie was like, "Oh, do you know this person, or this person?" And I'm like, "I've got to be honest with you, I have no idea who you're talking about." And she's like, "How do you not know them? They're big for this." I'm like, "Listen to me. There's a few people I pay attention to. I try not to subscribe to other agents' content, like you'll see on your channel right here. I'm not subscribed. The reason isn't because I don't love you. The reason is like I don't want YouTube messing up your analytics and just sending me your content. That doesn't
No,
really help you, right?
right. No,
Um,
understood.
but but I like to listen to what you have to say, and I think as realtors, if you're or just anybody that's trying to create content, I would look at my recommendation is to look at other people's content, and see how they do, how they come off, and then just do what you want to do, right? You made some good points. Give people a touch on their pain points. But for me, I'm just like, hey, give them the information and just get in there and get out, right? That's the whole point
Yep.
of it. So no big like mistakes. What are some of the mistakes that you've made on your channel that if you're looking back, you'd say, ugh, I wish I didn't do that video or I didn't do that? What are some of those things?
I wish I would have. There's no videos that I've done that I necessarily regret doing, thankfully, to this point. But I think not going more hyper local, right? As a real estate agent, I think my market's Huntington Beach, Orange County. I think go because now I'm broad, right? I'm super broad. I'm I've got people watching me from all across the US. I mean, a large percentage is California, but still everywhere. And so if I go hyper local now and I talk about Huntington Beach too much, I'm going to lose a lot of people, right? That just don't care about that. And I think had I started with that and made it one of the things that I touch on more regularly, my local market, then it wouldn't be as, it wouldn't come off as crazy. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, right? I mean, you being Austin, right? You're super specific. I mean, that's the reason your channel's not, 100,000
Yeah,
subscribers. It's very, 10,000. It's because you are Austin, right?
right,
And that's super beneficial. I didn't do that. And I don't know that I have regrets about it because it's worked out in a different way. It
right.
just I know I would get more business if I had taken that approach. And that's something that, often I think about. I often think about creating a different channel just for Huntington Beach and whatever. But the thought of having two channels and managing all of that along with my business is like, not something
It's
that
yeah.
I even want to consider at this point.
So I think if you do start another channel, just as a word of advice, what I'd recommend is getting like a speedo and just run around Long Beach in a speedo. I think that would definitely help your channel.
No, I
Uh,
do. What I will say is now that I've built a channel, I truly believe I could do it again
yeah,
in a lot quicker like because the things, the mistakes that you've made, right? I mean,
right.
what I would tell people to focus on, again, we've seen this in other we're both part of a different Facebook group or whatever. But the thumbnail is key, man. And for the longest time, and I still like my thumbnails aren't great by any means, but they've come a long way. And I think that thumbnail and that title are what people starting video really need to understand how important those are.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, you do. I was going through here. You've got some really catchy titles. I could tell a couple of them are copied from Christina. Don't worry, a few of mine are too. Um, but I mean, here's the deal. Like, I was always team face off, right? I hated like video, like doing thumbnails. Like you have this one right here,
Yeah.
which is like, where's the real estate market headed? No face. And so I loved doing videos like that, or doing thumbnails like that. And then once I started putting my face on it, then it started, then you build your community, right? So let me ask you about that then. So you've built a community, obviously, of almost 40,000 subs. You'll hit there soon. You'll be close to Christina soon, getting that silver play button. So what is it to building a community? How does that work on YouTube?
Well, I mean, how does it work, or what's the benefit of it? How
What
it
are some
works.
things you've done to grow a community?
I think engage, right? I mean, when I'm doing videos, I read the comments, I reply to the comments. Often, I take people's advice, their recommendations. They want to see a video. I do it. Whether or not I think it's a great topic or not, I try to take what people are asking into consideration, and giving people their props where needed. I think building that community is huge. Not just I mean, what happens is as you create this community, I mean, this is agents watching this, right? I mean, the benefit
Yeah.
here is that when somebody calls you because they've seen your YouTube video, they feel like they know you. Right. There's very
Yeah.
little sales that happen. Like I go on a listing appointment, or a buyer reaches out to me because they found me on YouTube. There's no selling me. They've likely seen more than one video. They have an idea of who I am. In some cases, they've watched a lot more than I feel like anybody should ever watch of me. And it's awesome because you go in and it's like they know you, and it's an easy conversation. And I think that's huge because most people's going on a listing appointment, it can be stressful not knowing the direction that the conversation is going to go and certain things. And when people just call you up and basically say, hey, I want you to list my house, that's pretty easy to do.
You have to move into sales pitch mode, which is what I always hated back in the day,
Yes.
my days of my first brokerage. You did those daily, like, motivational things, right? You're like, I'm a great salesperson. I hate that with a passion. I wish I would have never done that. But if
I'm
you go to listing,
capable.
I'm capable. They want to hear from me. I feel like when you're
People
doing
like me.
yeah, once you've built a community of people that like you, and then you go off and you go to appointments, it's a hell of a lot easier. Or like, here's a good point. You've referred me business in the past, and those people want to work with me because like, oh, Jeremy's got a great channel. Look him up, and then they'll look me up, and then they're like, all right, cool. Jeb, I trust Jeb. I'm going to listen to Jeb. Let's go. And then it's easier for me as a referral too. And it's the same
Absolutely.
thing. I'm sure your referrals, when you pass them off to somebody, they're like, all right, I'm just going to listen to you because Jeb trusts you.
No, exactly. I mean, the fact that, I mean, it's like there's rapport built, and I've done nothing other than, again, I mean, and there's that Zig Ziglar quote that's like, if give enough people what they want, well, you can have anything in life if you give, enough people what they want, right? Or something
Right.
along those lines. And that's what I think about this content. I'm doing it for free, the value, trying to provide value, value, value. And then it comes back to me in other ways. And I think, not only that, but it keeps me up to date on my craft, right? I'm constantly honing my skill, and I'm not talking about video, but because I don't want to be wrong, right? I don't want these videos to come back and haunt me in 3 years and go whatever. It's like I'm constantly trying to read on topics that are affecting our
Yeah.
business in one way or another, and it makes me a better real estate agent.
We're about at the end of this. So why don't you tell me, what is your one piece of advice for anybody getting into content creation and getting into YouTube, whatever medium they're going to use for content creation? What is your one piece of advice for them?
Do it. Don't overthink it, right? It's so easy to overthink it. It's so easy to think that you need the best camera, you need the best mic, you need the best, whatever it is. Just get on and talk, right? I mean, I just, write some highlights to yourself, some talking points, and get on video and film it, and then send it to somebody, right? And let them tell you. I mean, I personally think I suck on video. I don't like it. And that seems crazy, right? Because I put my face all over this stuff, and it looks like I'm this, I love attention, but I don't. I just, I'm trying to provide good information. It comes back to me in business, and it all works out. So I would just tell you to just go after it, film it, put up your phone, on a tripod, and make it happen. People want to see good sound, right?
Right.
Good sound, good clarity on the video. Those two things, if you have them, you can film it on anything. You don't need a great camera or any of that crazy stuff.
Awesome. Well, cool, Jeb, man. I really appreciate you coming on. If you want any more information from Jeb, you can find his YouTube channel, reach out to him if he wants that. Also,
That's
make
all
sure you
good.
like, also make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this with any of their agent friends or anybody that's looking to get into content creation. We appreciate that. We'll catch you on the next video. Jeb, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.